Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin. Wednesday, July 31st, around 9 a.m. On my way into the ferry again, and I thought I'd keep my momentum of making videos. And you can hear the train going by in the opposite direction. I guess the trains are arriving and departing now for the 9:30 ferry, which is the one I'm going to be gone. As usual, I oversaw the making of the donuts this morning, but for the first time in a while, the making of the donuts was truly automated. I have for the past several weeks been waking up in the wee hours of the morning and running a script to make sure that everything went well, because automation is an illusion. You can only semi-automate things, and the rest is tender love and care, because things can and do go wrong. Very few places is Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong, in quite so full force as when you think you're off the hook for a daily task and you've tried to automate it. So I found that the best way to deal with that is to just be hands-on and trigger your script each morning as if it was on the automated schedule and watch what happens. And after a week or two, you'll have identified every edge case you need to deal with, be it API rate limiting quotas, which is a very common one for busy times of the morning, or just other unanticipated things. In fact, the stuff I'm actually trying to do right now, which will probably be the subject of today's work, is month parting, shall we say, or year parting. So day parting is really easy because all these scheduling packages out there for Python and any other system let you specify things like, well, I gotta be really careful around here. The cars just come around places even when they have stop signs, like at Staten Island speed. So anyway, day parting. So yeah, it's easy to do period or exact scheduling with these packages, because you say do something at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, or every 1 hour or every 4 hours. But it's harder to say do it for 1 week. Do this every 4 hours for the next week. But you do have the power of Python, especially in the way I'm doing it. As you'll recall from the last video, I'm not using Linux's built-in scheduling, although from the way I talk about it, you might think so. What I'm actually doing is using Linux's built-in startup monitor, startup launcher and task monitor called systemd. So on system startup, it has the responsibility for getting your system going, running all these various little services that are intended to run in the background, oftentimes your own, which you write these little, I believe they're XML files. They look like XML files. They might be init files. I'm not exactly sure, but you drop them into this /etc/system/systemd, something like that location. And then you have some commands to enable and disable them. It's a lot like Windows services for people who do this there. You can enable, disable services, restart them, whatever. So you take your Python scheduling script, something like schedule.py, and you make sure that at system start, that is running. And then there's a wait loop in there, checking every second. I have it set it to run any pending tasks. So for computers these days, an every second busy loop for a scheduler is really nothing. I've considered moving that to a minute or something for less demand on the system, lower resolution or sampling rate, such as it were. But today's modern computers, even a feeble little Amazon Elastic Computing Cloud instance such as I have, can handle a 1 second busy loop, a wait loop. real easily every second. Are there tasks pending? Are there tasks pending? Are there tasks pending? And then if that schedule.py file ever exits out, craps out for any reason, System D's job is to monitor it and to respawn it so that schedule.py is never not running, no matter what your errors. Now, of course, if it's a Python syntax error in your schedule.py file, it's just going to keep rerunning it and then exiting right out immediately and never have a chance to run your scripts at all. Ooh, there's a sculpture I never really noticed here. Right about there, you'll notice a bird. I'll get an up-close photography of that some morning, but it's a beautiful crane with its head pointed straight up that I can line right up with, I think it's called Liberty Tower, the replacement to the Twin Towers. This is an interesting view here at Pier 7.5. I guess it's like Harry Potter's Landing. You have to know how to walk in between piers 7 and 8. So anyway, as long as you have schedule.py without any stupid Python syntax errors, it's always going to be running. It's always going to be in a busy loop, seeing what pending jobs are up for running per the scheduling definitions. And the scheduling definitions are things that are just lines in that schedule.py that read very much like English. You know, every hour run this function. You know, every day at 4 o'clock run this function. Every day at midnight run this function, or every Tuesday at midnight run this function. I don't want to give the same example twice there, but you can give week names, weekday names. You can give, you know, all kinds of particular, well, I guess there you have week parting there. So you can't tell it to stop after a certain date. You can't say, do this every 4 hours for the next week. So part of my work today is going to be to make that scheduling line only be active during that window of the next week. And as I said, you have the power of Python, so anything that's not built into your module that you've decided to use, instead of switching modules, you can just extend its capabilities with a little Python. The schedule.py file, I'll have some sort of if statement or possibly a Python dictionary switch around it to, you know, only be able to run the functions if it's in the specified time range. Now, dealing with date ranges is its own special sort of special. And using the standard built-in datetime library of Python, while possible, and I encourage everyone who's going this route should do it just to get the fundamentals, just like you should learn JavaScript before using React.js and stuff like that. You should use the datetime library before using such third-party packages, simplifying packages like Dateutil, but I'm using Dateutil, or something like it. I believe there's a few new contenders for Dateutil, but just like the request package is the heir apparent, the de facto standard HTTP request library if you want to do web crawling and scraping without a browser in the picture, but needing such sophisticated features as authentication for website login, or cookie manipulation, or header manipulation. The list goes on. There's actually quite a bit you can do without a browser in the picture. Yet another story, because I'm actually trying to automate Chrome as the real future solution for doing complex SEO tasks like expanding the what people ask accordion interface on Google search results. But I digress. I'm going to be using Dateutil or something like it to do date manipulations for my current task. Another view of the city. You can see it's just constantly being on the road to the Emerald City on my little commute walk in. Now I could be taking the train over that way a bit, but by the time you get up on the, oh well, actually they're working on the steps. That train station is closed, so I'd have to go a train station forward or back. All the more reason that it's just silly when I can get one of these 20-minute walks during which I had produced some of my best videos. So I'm going to try and just restart these videos while they're working on the steps, and maybe beyond while the summer weather is nice. And let's see. So yes, I should be able to fairly eloquently state between the following dates, run this job every 4 hours. And so that's today's job, and I thought I'd make that the subject of today's video just because, you know, things start dovetailing together in Python. You don't have to know everything. The libraries you choose don't need to do everything. And the most important thing is to just be comfortable being expressive, to be comfortable doing the most common tasks that you are called upon for without having to Google a solution every time. If you're in a position where you're going to Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow, there's a few names out there. I think they're all like Joel Spolsky site spin-offs. Then you're in a position of weakness, because while you might find a good example, you are now just copying and pasting someone else's code and not really understanding what's going on, when you could just be talking as if talking in your native spoken language, in my case, English. Python really is that easy. And if you can't, you know, do the most common things like it's rolling off your tongue, then you really have not been taking the right approach to Python. You've been taking the sort of approach that one takes to JavaScript and C++, where it's inhumanly difficult to just sit down and write as if you're writing the great American novel and be doing coding. C++ people spend years building up their libraries, their personal libraries, so that they don't have to write another line of code. And Ruby on Rails people are all about do it once, that, you know, you should only ever have to write a piece of code once. Now imagine if that was the rule in English, where you only ever had to say something once, and then every other time you ever said anything, it was a reference back to that time you said it before. So you would be speaking in references, you would be speaking in nickname abbreviations for conversations you had in the past. It's just outright stupid. When your language strikes the right balance of expressiveness and shortcuts, really, let's call it what it is, because all these languages are highly opinionated. Ruby is highly opinionated. Python, C, they all have strong views of the world, the way things are supposed to be. And when you strike the right balance of opinion, which is the shortcuts, because that's what a lot of the opinions is about. What is the conventional way of working? What are the most common use cases? These are the types of things that Guido van Rossum struggled with as the benevolent dictator of Python over all these years. And he struck this wonderful, wonderful balance where every time you sit down, you could just write your code from scratch again with very little code reuse, and you would practically, functionally be at very little of a disadvantage versus your peers who were using other languages, who had to resort to library and package calls and imports every time they had to do something, includes. Instead, you just write like I'm talking here. I'm a non-editing YouTuber, okay? So this tells you a lot. I just make this YouTube video. I just am expressive. I just know what I'm talking about, and I'm comfortable doing it. And when I'm done, I'm just gonna go upload the thing. I'll probably not even review it. I know I didn't make any terrible faux pas, nothing I couldn't, you know, come back from with a couple of comment responses, maybe throwing a link in the description. And think of all the time I saved. I'll be on to the next video. Think how much more productive I'll be moving on to the next subject matter, tackling the next issue. And as soon as I find out that what I did in the past is no longer exactly applicable, it doesn't exactly hit the case that I have to address currently, I just started anew. It's a rapid scrap and rebuild methodology, which is possible when your programming language is strikes the right balance of opinionated shortcuts and granularity, precision control. Python does, and by using that, I'm going to have all these wonderful shortcuts by, import schedule module, use its API, which simplifies period and exact scheduling. And for period scheduling, I'll use the power of Dateutil to create a date range, bracketing it so that that period scheduling only takes place in that Dateutil defined date window. Problem solved. 80-20 rule, bam. Request satisfied. I'll be able to use it every time that comes up, and then I'll be on to the next thing. Speaking of on to the next thing, the ferry is probably just pulling in, and I've got to pick up my pace to be on it. So, as usual, thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.